About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.
What's going on, everybody? It is the AAT Birds Weekly Report. Gonna get into the NFL Combine. Everyone's at Indy, all the GMs, head coaches, everything there. I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars GM and head coach aren't there. I know they said they weren't attending the Combine. To each their own, I guess. But mostly everybody is there. A lot to get over there. Free agency is starting up here in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. 2 weeks is the exact date, but a little over a week and a half until the tampering period. So, of course, you have the NFL Combine, usually the end of February. You get all the measurements, you get guys running, you have the conversations apparently open up in terms of free agency activity. There's talking about players who are cut, players potentially on the trade block. There's a lot that happens. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Combine. We're going to talk about some of our favorite prospects. Some guys may not be as highly touted, a couple under the radar guys that I'd like to shout out, and maybe the Eagles can get them in the later rounds. But we're going to have a lot more draft stuff as we get into like late March into April. We'll get into that. But of course, with the Combine, we're going to talk about that. Howie and Nick spoke, and then we also have the news and notes. Tony Pauline always likes to put out some stuff. So there was a couple things that he put out. So just want to get into all that. But how are we doing here, Matt?
We're doing well, baby. We're doing well. It is the best part of the year, man. This is where you and I think thrive, right? With the content, because we both really enjoy the team building aspect of the NFL, and the all the thinking and 4D chess that goes on in Howie's brain around contracts and when to extend and when to restructure and when to cut, and where they value certain positions and where you can find value. It's awesome. It's so much fun. Go ahead.
I think the big fun, the fun part about it, and listen, the season's awesome. The season's fun every week, getting over that's enjoyable too.
Stressful as hell, though.
Yes, it is. I think the thing about the offseason, and you get into the Combine, free agency, the draft, into that period before mini camps start and OTAs and all of that, is the optimism aspect of it. Because you're going to sign players and you're going to be super optimistic, finding the good points of them, and then they can wind up turning into players who aren't very good. Yeah. But the aspect of seeing, okay, hey, this guy, on this defense, they're adding this piece, they're doing this, they're doing that. That is such a great, in terms of being able to see what your team is going to develop into, what they're going to build them into. And that's the fun part, is you have all these different scenarios. You have all these different mock drafts. We have tons of different avenues of content and basically what we can do. Now there's stuff out there with GM calculator things. You can, cut players, maneuver players, sign players, do different stuff. It is very hard. And it's the fun aspect of the offseason. And again, that's why you have the NFL is all year round, is because of stuff like this. You have the season all the way up into it's going to be soon, the second week of February. And then you get into the end of February is the Combine. The beginning of March is free agency, which of course free agency then just goes on with trades and all that. But you have that. Then you have the draft. Then you have the schedule release. And then by that time you're into June and July, and then you start getting into preseason, training camp, preseason, and then the season starts again. So it's,
and I love that May time period too, where the new guys show up for OTAs, and you get to see how they look and what equipment they're wearing. I'm a big equipment guy, and
what jersey numbers they get. That's always a fun thing too.
Jersey numbers are a big deal. Yeah, for sure.
This year, I think it's going to be even better because there's so many numbers that are available. Good numbers. We're not having now. We're not having the running backs in the corners coming in wearing 38, 42, 47, 40. You actually have decent numbers coming available with the free agents that are there.
So the offensive line, like
Yeah.
there'll be some good numbers popping up. Defensive line as well. It's a great time of year. It's so much fun, and you see all the mock drafts I send you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun to see. One of my favorite parts about this year and what we're going to be going through over these next couple months is we don't know what this offense is going to look like. We don't know what Sean Mannion looks for in his players. We don't know what Grizzard look for in his players. We don't know what Cooper looks for in an offensive lineman, right? The West Coast system, for example, typically likes smaller, faster offensive linemen. Stout usually prefers his guards to be built like skyscrapers, right? He likes that like 6'6", 330 build. I'm not sure that that's what they look for anymore. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see who they're talking to, who they draft, who they sign, and trying to get a sense of what that system and what that prototype is going to look like for a particular player. Archetype, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you also see at the combine, you see what players that they interview, who they're talking to, and it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of kind of where they're going and what they're looking for. And on the defensive side of the ball, we kind of know what Vic likes in terms of the type of player and the type of capabilities that they have. And again, we see that there's some players that you see. I think one intriguing one is Harold Perkins from LSU. Was super thought of after his freshman season, his true freshman season, kind of came onto the scene and then kind of flattened out a little bit, plateaued a little bit. And, right now he's in the, 5th round range, it looks like. It's kind of maybe the 4th round if he's lucky right now. So, this is a big week for him. And there's players there that you're going to have that where they're going to open your eyes. They're going to shoot up boards. They're, and I know a lot of people say that nobody really shoots up draft boards at the combine. But again,
there are
fans,
people,
like maybe like scouts and all that already kind of know, but then the fans kind of get their first glimpse and their first eye. And then all of a sudden they start talking, the pundits start talking more. And that's kind of, they rise in the aspects of the fans. You see that every year and you're going to see that.
But it also, like, you can only tell so much about a player, but like the Eagles put a lot, more than most teams. I think a lot of teams are starting to do it a little bit more, but they were definitely ahead of the curve with their analytics department, specifically around the combine, right? If you have listened to us before and last year around this time, you'll notice that we talk a lot about the RAS score, right? And their relative athletic score, athleticism score. And the Eagles value that quite a bit. And they look at certain aspects of their athletic testing to make sure that they meet certain parameters if they're going to be drafted. Like your defensive and offensive linemen, they look at explosives more than they look at the 40-yard dash, right? So they like to look at your broad jump. They like to look at your vertical. They like to look at your bench press and your shuttle. And instead of your 40-yard dash, they may look at the 10-second split, right? Or 10-yard split. So there's certain things that they do that I think, if you pay attention to it over the years, you'll see, oh man, like this guy falls into what they're going to look for, which is kind of fun. But I think there are certain guys like a Jordan Davis that probably jumped up the draft board a little bit for the Eagles. Like, I don't know, before his testing in, what was it, 2020,
2022.
2022. I don't know that they would have considered trading up to 13 prior to his testing, but I don't know. I don't know for a fact.
I have a couple guys here that I'm interested to see. I think they're going to test out well. But there's a guy that I think, as you're bringing up Jordan Davis and a defensive lineman shooting up the board, like a guy like Peter Woods. Now he's a first round pick, but depending on how he tests, I could see him jumping up. Interior defensive linemen are a need in the NFL. People like to have that, interior pass rusher and or different.
This is an interesting year in the draft for defensive linemen. I think there are a ton of big-bodied space eaters.
Lee Hunter.
Right?
He's
Lee
one
Hunter and Dominic Orange and Darrell Jackson and Keenan out of Alabama. But then you have like smaller guys. And by smaller, I mean like 6'1", 290, right? The Moro Ajomo body type.
Zane Durant.
Zane Durant, Skylar Gill-Howard, Grayson Halton. You have that little spark plug out of Navy.
Landon Robinson.
Landon, yeah. Cameron Ball. Like you have some really interesting like 4-eye type of players, and that's one thing that I am looking for this year. I just think Moro Ajomo's not going to get paid this year or next. So I would imagine that they'll take someone like a Zane Durant or a Skylar Gill-Howard or someone like that.
So I think too is when you look at this draft, like, and it's not saying that the draft doesn't have great players or doesn't have star players, but I feel like this is a draft where there's a lot of like you can get a player of high caliber, later in like there's a lot that like all these players to me are like you can get kind of earlier in the draft, you can get it a little bit later in the first round and the second round. I just don't think there's 25 can't miss guys. I don't believe that's true, but I feel like you can find, and like how you said, depending on what you're looking for in a defense and offense, the way that you play, the way that your defense and offense is styled, the personnel that you run, that's going to, of course, mean a little bit in terms of who you draft where. But, there's a couple players that I really like. I really want to see Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. There's different players that not necessarily the combine, but just that I want to see more of and seeing in terms of whether it's the pro days, all that kind of stuff come into play.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were going with something.
Yeah. So you're talking about, we were talking about Nakobe Dean, right? And we got into that conversation last week about, what if they trade Bond and get younger? I don't think that's something that they're going to do, but it also brought up another thought in my brain over the last week when I'm doing these mock drafts is like, we like Mondon. Mondon's a good special teams player. Trotter is most likely a special teams career backup, right? Like, I don't know if he's starter quality. At least not yet. He might develop into that. Who knows? But assuming Bond is, 1 or 2 years away, right, from falling off that cliff, I think they should be looking at linebackers that could potentially like jump into that really high quality backup future starter mold. And guys I'm looking at that I think would be interesting, like I always think it's fun to add more trotters, right? But like a guy like Kyle Lewis out of Pitt, he was awesome in the All-Star games. And then Jacob Rodriguez is super fascinating to me. I think he'd be really fun in a Vic Fangio defense. He is just a playmaker. I think he'd be a lot of fun. And then, that Harold Perkins that you brought up. It's funny because you have two guys here in the linebackers in Harold Perkins and Eric Gentry that are kind of, I don't want to call them positionless, but I don't know that people know where to play them.
Yeah.
They kind of have that like,
which could hurt their value.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like Perkins is what, 6'1", 220. And there are people saying he's a safety. There are people saying he's a linebacker. He kind of reminds me of Isaiah Simmons in that regard. He's a little bit smaller than he was, but he's interesting too. Like I'd be willing to take a 5th round flyer on him and see what happens. But the guys that I'm really interested in seeing, more so just from an entertainment perspective, are the wide receivers. Yeah, I think there's some guys that can really fly here. Like I'm really interested to see what Omar Cooper runs. Like, I can't tell if he's like a 4.6 guy or if he's like a 4.45 guy. You know,
you have that with a lot of these guys. Concepcion,
Tyler
Denzel
Bell,
Boston,
too.
Makai Lemon. Like, you want to see how some of these guys run. I'm very curious to see how some of these. I think that you have some guys that are going to leap off the field. Malachi Fields, Zachariah Branch. Like, there's certain guys that you're
Brennan
going to see.
Thompson. I'm telling you right now, Brennan Thompson's going to tear it up. He's going to be one of those guys that's considered a winner from the combine. I got a feeling he's going to run sub 4.3. Same thing with that Law kid out of Kentucky. What's his name? I forget his name. Kendall. I want to say Kendall. Devontae Ross is another guy that always looks fast.
Kendrick Law, that's who you're talking about.
Law. There you go. Devontae Ross out of Penn State was another guy that looked like he could fly. And right now he's looking like he might be an undrafted guy. Maybe he helps himself.
There's going to be some guys, and again, we'll get into. I have 3 guys that are kind of like my guys, and they're not like the big names because you a lot of people want some of these top names, and I get that. But when I look at like my guys, when I look in the draft, they're usually mid to late round potential undrafted free agent type of guys that I really liked watching, enjoy watching. I feel like somebody that you can develop and make into a solid quality player. And that's kind of how I go about it. So we'll get into those. Oh, you want to get them now? We can do them now.
Sure. Why not? We're on it.
Do you have any of those too?
I can come up with them pretty quickly. Yeah.
All right. So I'll start and then I'll, let you go. And one of mine is a wide receiver, and it's Tyron Montgomery from John Carroll. He did kind of jump off the screen in terms of the All-Star game. Made some plays in practice and in the game. Like, he's a player that I would like to see. He's a guy that you could get later in the draft and somebody that, maybe projected in the 6th, 7th round range. But small school player, but I don't think that's going to make them, shy away from a player like that. So he's one of the guys that I'm really intrigued and would like to see the Eagles go after.
I like that. I'll stick with wide receiver. And there's one guy that I've been after for a long time, who seems to be kind of climbing up the boards in the mock draft machines.
This is who I think it is. Reason I didn't say him.
I'll give you 2, but one is Ted Hurst.
Okay.
From Georgia State. 6'3", 200 pounds. Kind of reminds me of George Pickens, the way he plays. He's very much a balls in the air, it's mine. Tracks it really well. I think he runs really well for his height. Obviously it's Georgia State, so he's not playing against, SEC, but I'm really interested to see what he looks like in the drills and how he tests, because he dominated at Georgia State. And then another guy that popped off the screen at the Senior Bowl was Josh Cameron, out of Baylor.
Okay.
Out of Baylor. And there were a couple times where I was watching him where I think I hit you up and said, dude, he reminds me so much of A.J. Brown. Not necessarily, not necessarily his athleticism, but like his build and the way he plays the game. I've seen him anywhere from like the 3rd round to the 6th round. PFF has him at their 222nd ranked prospect. So another late round guy, 6'1", 224, yak machine. So he was killing it at the Senior Bowl. So I'm really interested to see how he goes, and he's one of my guys moving forward too.
Okay. So I'm going to go in here now, go on the defensive side of the ball.
Do it.
One player who I believe you probably can get as a UDFA. You kind of know the where I'm going here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
Boo.
Matt Spatney, an edge rusher from Lehigh. 6'2", 250, 255 range. Was all over the field. Always causing pressure. always kind of doing everything that he can to get to the ball carrier, whether it's the quarterback, whether it's the running back. Was beat up a little bit, but I feel like he's a player, especially he's in the backyard. He's right there in Bethlehem at Lehigh. So they're going to have their eyes on him. They're going to know about him. So I feel like he's a guy that if you could get in your room, not saying he's going to be able to get you, make the team, but he's a player that can play some specials. I feel like he's a type of guy that is going to want to do it all to try and make the team.
I like that.
Plus, he does hold the all-time record for, I believe, most sacks and tackles for loss, I believe, in Lehigh history. So
there you go.
He's on their record books.
So it'd be cool to get a mountain pigeon on the Eagles. That'd be cool.
Funny, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Here's another smaller school guy that I like that I think is going to test really well. A lot of fun to watch on tape. And kind of reminds me of Nick Benito from the Broncos. Nadame Tucker. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's super twitchy and he's so fast off the ball. He's not the biggest guy. He's 6'3", 250, but he plays with his head on fire. I think he's going to test really well. And I think this will be a week for him to kind of shoot up the boards. And then two other later round guys that you and I both like, Max Llewellyn out of Iowa and Mason Reiger out of Wisconsin. I think those are two guys that will probably test really well at like 6'5", 260. Max Llewellyn kind of reminds me of Van Ness a couple years ago, but he's a little bit faster, kind of a rocked up, just bad attitude white dude that loves to punish quarterbacks. Those are two guys that I'll be watching because I think they deserve to be higher rated than they currently are.
I would agree with you there. I think they are players that give you max effort. No pun intended there, but they're just they're players that I could definitely see, giving you everything that you want them or ask of them.
Yeah.
So my last one, I have two tight ends here. Both of them I feel are going to be very late rounds and or most likely undrafted. Yeah. One is, of course, the Indiana Riley, Nowakowski. And then he's kind of like an H-back, kind of does a multitude of things. And then last one, I've talked to you, I've already said his name to you, would be Khalil Dinkins from Penn State.
You love him. Huh?
He was the backup to Tyler Warren, so of course he didn't get a lot of play. Did a lot of dirty work, the blocking. He didn't do too much. He has great genes. His dad played in the NFL for the Giants. And the other thing too is this year, unfortunately, everything that went down at Penn State with the firing of Franklin, Drew Aller getting hurt, then you're bringing in young quarterback, didn't get a lot of play, and the way that the offense was run, it wasn't like it was run like how Tyler Warren was run through him.
Yeah.
So
he was a dirty work player for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not a tiny player. He's 6'4". I believe he's like 6'4", 250, 260. Yeah. Maybe a little lighter than that, maybe in the 250, 245, 250 range. But
let's look.
You take a look at his production, it wasn't great. His career was only 37 catches for 399 and 7 touchdowns. But again, you have to look at who he had in the rooms there. He was more of the hard-nosed type of player. He would get his nose dirty. He would block you. I think he'd be a good depth, especially when you look at the Eagles and you see that there really is no tight ends on the roster.
Yeah. I could 100% see them getting a UDFA that makes a team at tight end. I think if there's one position, it's probably
Jack Stoll did it.
Hey,
he did it because
back in a heartbeat.
So,
and speaking of tight ends, I'm really intrigued these aren't necessarily my guys. I mean, they're guys that I would love the Eagles to draft, but I'm really interested to see how guys like Tanner Kozile, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Cozio.
Tanner Kozile, is that his name? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, from
Out of
Houston.
Houston? Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how he runs because he looks super fast. He's 6'7", 250, right? Like he's not a little dude. Wow, on the dot, 6'7", 250. And then Oscar Delp, who I think is getting a little more love these days, but like kind of another one of those Georgia dudes that just gets lost in the plethora of talent that they have. But he's 6'5", 245. He's a good blocker. Once again, looks really fast on tape. I'm interested to see how he tests. But I think one of the things I'm keeping an eye on, and I sent you this message earlier. Right now, the Eagles' assistant special teams coach Tyler Brown is working with specialists. Specialists are on day one. I believe they're usually the last day of the combine. This year, they're the first. But he's out there and he's working people out. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm clamoring for a long snapper and for the future of that position. This is a really great year to need a long snapper. Two guys that I'm looking at are Luke Basso out of Oregon, and the only long snapper I believe that was invited to the combine, Tyler Dzansky out of Penn State. He'd be my number one pick, I think, for not necessarily as a draft pick, but maybe a UDFA, prior to UDFA, to get a long snapper in the house for the next 10 years, like they've been doing. In 25 years, from 2000 to 2025, I think I've said this before on the pod, we had 3 long snappers.
That's crazy.
Mike Bartram,
John Doran
Boss,
Rick Lovato.
And Rick Lovato. So, I mean, that's crazy consistency, and I would imagine that Howie is aware of that. And a guy like Tyler Dzansky or Luke Basso would go a long way. So the fact that our special teams coach is there and getting a front row seat, working out kickers and the operation, I like that.
I think one of the best Eagles trivia questions would be,
who was the long snapper before Bartram?
Before Mike Bartram.
Dude, I could not tell you, man. Do you know? Do you know off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
Because Bartram was like right when I started getting like big into football, right? Like I think he was the first. That's right. When tight ends.
It was David Diaz Infante. Our backup offensive lineman.
See, that's when there wasn't a specialty.
Yeah,
right?
He was a guard.
Bartram was our third string tight end.
He was 6'3", 295.
Holy shit, that's a long snapper.
Yeah, 99 he played with the Eagles, but he played 95 to 98 with the Denver Broncos, won 2 Super Bowls.
And then 99 is when Bartram took over, right?
No, 2000 is when Bartram took over.
But yeah, I would love to see us grab a young long snapper that can thrive here for the next 10 years.
The Eagles were the first time he long snapped, it looked like.
Bartram?
Because no. Diaz Infante. Because he was a guard for the Broncos, actually started 9 games for them in 96 and 97, and then was a guard in 98, and then he went to the Eagles as a long snapper for 15 games, and then didn't play in 2000. In 2001, he was Denver's long snapper for 16 games at age 37, and then he retired.
I mean, that's a smart way to prolong your career.
Wow. You know what's even crazier?
What?
1987 was his rookie year, played 3 games. Did not play then until 96 in the NFL.
Do that again?
1987, he was a rookie, undrafted, played 3 games. Then in 88 and 89, he went to the Rams, but it was on their offseason or practice squad. Then he went to NFL Europe on the practice squad of the 49ers or offseason.
Right.
Then he went to the Sacramento Gold Miners, which I believe is a Canadian football team, back in 93 and 94. And then he finally went to the Denver Broncos. So he never really because he was released by the Rams in 88, 89 prior to the regular season. Then he went to play in the World League of American Football, Frankfurt Galaxy, 91, 92. 93 was cut prior to the regular season, then went to sign in the CFL, and then signed with the Broncos. And then
that's wild. That's a crazy
hell of a
career.
story.
That's a crazy career. But what a smart way to prolong your career. Right?
So,
like you're a guard, and then you're like, nah, I just want to be a long snapper now.
The craziest thing was, due to a knee injury during training camp, Diaz Infante was inactive for the first 6 games of 98 before playing the last 10 regular season games at long snapper and other special teams roles. He continued long snapper all 3 postseason games, including the second straight Super Bowl win. So with the injury and stuff, he decided to switch to long snapping.
Wow. So that was a way for him to get back on the field.
Yeah. That'd be that's a pretty cool story.
That's a great story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah. But yeah, Eagles are getting a long snapper. They don't have a choice.
No, they don't have a choice. That's just
I don't know if it's going to be a free agent or it's going to be a in the draft, but I would assume they'd prefer to go the draft because every free agent is like 38. So I would love to grab some 24-year-old that's here for 15 years.
I would agree with you. I think that'd be the option to go. Get a young player, and go from there. But yeah, so Howie and Nick spoke. I know they were peppered with questions about AJ Brown and everything there. Yeah. So, they had that. I really don't want to get into that. We can get into that maybe in a little bit down the road, next couple of shows, because I feel like that's going to be a lot that's going to be talked about. So this whole off season, so we won't spend too much time.
Can I jump in on one thing there though?
Yeah, you can.
2 things. One, I love the way that Sirianni spoke about Jalen Hurts. He directly addressed Rich Eisen when he asked him about, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Did Jalen Hurts not want to do certain things in the Petulo offense? And is it true that he didn't want to run as much? And Sirianni, again, this could just be coach speak, but he came out and flat out said, like, that is not true. Nothing that was said in the media is how we feel or how it's being portrayed in the locker room. Like, he never said he didn't want to do certain things. We just put him in the best position that we thought was possible. So I thought that was interesting. I thought he didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. But he came out and completely shot it down. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, like we were talking about legal tampering and we're talking about the AJ thing.
I was going to bring this up.
Vrabel? Yeah. How about Vrabel basically saying, "Oh, I text AJ all the time about like."
He was going to say. So he says, "I text him."
He was about to say in the season.
During the season, but he didn't say it.
It's interesting though. I mean, like these are the types of things that don't help, stomp out the fire, right?
Yeah.
And I got to.
It's not going to.
This is going to keep going until it's not.
I would agree with you. Until it's totally shot down and 100% stamped.
Until the season starts or the trade deadline ends, or he's traded. That's
it's going to be nonstop. It's just how it is. Unfortunately, that's just what it's going to be.
We can get into we could probably do a whole show on AJ, but let's move on to other stuff.
So the one thing I want to talk about is in terms of when you talk about Howie as a GM and what he does, a couple things. One is Tony Pauline talked about, targets and, Tanner McKee and the Jets kind of linked those two together.
He's to me, second person, by the way, that did it. Second or third, because Daniel Jeremiah brought it up too.
Again, if you take a look at Frank Reich, who was the OC, Tanner McKee would kind of fit the style of offense and what he runs. And,
well, and Frank just came from Stanford.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where McKee came from.
That's where McKee came from.
I'm sure they spoke highly of Tanner McKee.
Yeah.
Obviously he has a direct line to Sirianni and the Eagles organization. The link makes sense. And this is not a year to want a quarterback. No. So for the Eagles aspect of it is this helps them in terms of the McKee. Yeah, I know the game against the
Commanders wasn't perfect, but he did have flashes. And you look at his tools, look at what he's done in the preseason. Look, you look at the game action that he has had last year, what he did. For me, it's his basically with Howie and where they're going to go with the way this quarterback market is, free agency, the draft. You're going to be able to trade a quarterback, and in whoever it is, this league, you're going to have a bunch of veterans being dealt. But I feel like Tanner McKee's young, he's affordable, but I feel like the Eagles may be able to come away with something pretty good for him. So that's one thing I'm really hoping for. Like I like Tanner McKee as a player, but if you can get quality asset for him, you have to do it. So to me, I would absolutely do it if they're offered the right package. And you and I were going back and forth talking about the Jets. Like if the Jets tell you, oh, we'll give you our second round pick, which is one of our second round picks, which is 33rd.
Or 44, yeah.
Even 44. I would be like, yep.
Yeah.
There you go. And
what if they came back to you and said, we'll give you a 5th next year and Jermaine Johnson? You do it?
No, I wouldn't do it.
Interesting.
I wouldn't do it. And then, of course, the Raiders GM, I think John Spytek, I believe that's his name.
Yep.
Worked with Howie years ago
as a scout,
and kind of knows in terms of the way Howie works. And, he got asked about, the deals and the trades and all that. And, how he wants to make sure it benefits his team. And he said that multiple times when he talks about a trade and he talks about how he builds his roster, and he's always looking for improvements. And that brings up, of course, the Max Crosby. Again, that's another one that's probably not going to go away. You're going to hear plenty of rumors and plenty of things of him. And the GM even said, we're always listening. So it's not like he's saying it's absolutely, he did say, I expect Crosby to play in Vegas in 2026, but he said, we're always listening. So,
I mean, Howie essentially said the same thing about AJ.
Yeah, to me, and like I told you, I don't have great feelings about the AJ thing, but again, I've been kind of on a teeter. It's been like a seesaw. It's been going kind of back and forth in terms of the way I see it. So again, it's a fluid situation. There's a lot of that in the NFL. And of course, you're seeing this week, you're seeing players cut, and you're seeing trades in terms of players able to seek a trade. The Bears, Tremaine Edmonds. You're seeing some players who are cut. Titans cut Xavier Woods and Lloyd Cushenberry. So you're going to have a lot of that. Of course, the one thing I think is going to be crazy is if the 49ers don't come to a agreement with Trent Williams, he becomes number one free agent for teams who need an offensive tackle.
Raiders.
Whether that is the Raiders, would not put it past the Chicago Bears.
Oh, he'd be perfect. He'd be perfect there. So the Titans make a lot of sense.
But again, for him, he wants to probably go somewhere where
he's the kind of guy that wants money. He doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah, but I still think
he is an absolute asshole.
To me, I think he's a team, or I'm trying to think.
He's an absolute bully.
How about this?
Coward.
What about this one? If he's cut, what about a team like the Green Bay Packers?
Makes sense.
It would make perfect sense because Rasheed Walker is a free agent, who's their left tackle from last year.
Who is the Browns? The Browns have 0 offensive line under contract. Yeah. Their entire starting offensive line is free agent.
That is true. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, actually. It's already the 25th of February.
I hope they don't sign him because that's going to throw a whole wrench into their little plans.
Yeah, it's going to throw chaos. I like chaos.
And he's not the type of dude that's going to be like, oh no, it's okay. Like, let's work something out that's team friendly.
He knows, it's the Jason Peters aspect of it. He knows he's only got a little bit left, and he's going to want as much as.
Did he retire yet?
Yeah, he retired.
All right.
Yeah, JP's retired. Again, I did text you earlier. I think a fun idea for a show here You know how back in 2007, the 75th anniversary team, the Philadelphia Eagles 75th anniversary team, which is crazy because one of the players on that is Sean Andrews, and it was like his third year in the league. Isn't that nuts? But to do an Eagles all-time team like that team was constructed, I think it was, I'm not sure, it was a quarterback, running back, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look, but it would be interesting to see what the team would look like now. As you look 18 years since that team, who would be knocked off and how it changes. I think that'd be a fun show. That to me, I think that could be an action-packed show when it gets a little slow here in the spring and summer months. Yes, exactly. I'm just planting the seeds.
Yeah, I love that. And is it all time? So like 1933 and on?
Yep, all time.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it.
Should be fun. But with that, as we always end it, we want to make sure you're subscribing, you're tuning in. Everything is at the bottom there. Click on the link tree. We have everything there. We appreciate everyone tuning in. As we always end it with a very happy and joyful Go Birds.
Go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.